Okay. Hey folks, welcome. I know that we were getting some different people on, so we will get going here in just a couple minutes. So welcome to this afternoon's webinar, hosted in collaboration between the Green Schools National Network and the Center for Green Schools. So we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. Welcome. We did want to tell you that those of you that are on, I will put this in the chat window, but down below there's a link to this slideshow that you can connect to and get all the slides right away. And so you could follow it there and go through the slides with us. We'll have them on the screen, of course, but you also will have it for future reference as well. We'll get started here in just another minute or so. Welcome again to everybody who's on the webinar. We're going to get started here in just 1 minute. We're excited to share with you. We've got an awesome panel and a really good group and some great content for you on this webinar. So we're excited to share with you, and we'll get started here in just a minute. Thanks for being here. In the chat window, if you want to, you can go to the link that has the slideshows, has all the slides, and you can get all the slideshow in advance if you'd like. Should we get rolling, Carolyn? Yeah, okay. Good.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, welcome once again, everybody. We're super excited to have you with us here today. My name's Dave Denhartog, and I work with the Green Schools National Network. This webinar is being put on in conjunction with the Center for Green Schools and GSNN, and I'll be fortunate to be your host for today. Our focus is on professional development opportunities for sustainability-minded teachers. And so we've got a lot of really, really awesome resources that we want to share with you and things that are going to be happening in the upcoming future. In the chat window, you have seen that there's a link, and it's at the bottom of this slide as well, to this slideshow. Feel free to check it out and go to it when you get the chance. And you'll have all the slides there from today's presentation. Like I said, my name's Dave Den Hartog. I'm glad to be here with you. Feel free to reach out to me at any point during the slideshow or after and connect further. Here's our basic agenda for today. We want to give you an overview of where we're going and a little bit of a welcome. We want to highlight the PD collaborative partners. Those are some folks within the Green Schools National Network that are often offering professional development for schools around the country. We have helped to collate and curate a group of people that we think are just really top-notch organizations that are doing this work with teachers and educators and school leaders across the country. And so some of those are on this call today, and some of them will be, if we get our breakout rooms working, they'll be in the breakout rooms, but also you might see in the chat window some links to some of the things that they might be offering in the summer. We have two of those partners that are going to be talking today, the Cloud Institute and Envirolution. So we have Jamie Cloud from the Cloud Institute and Vanessa Robertson, who both are fantastic, and we're glad that they could be part of this webinar. And we'll have a couple of opportunities for breakout rooms. Hopefully, we've been having a few technical challenges with that, but we'll see what happens on that front. But we want to hear from these people, and we've got some really awesome things to share with you today. Feel free to throw out some questions via the chat window, but we will have a little bit of time at the end to go into deeper questions if people have those as well. So just very briefly about GSNN. Some of you are very familiar, some of you are not, but Green Schools National Network is a national nonprofit working with schools across the country, focusing on best practices and creating more just, equitable, and thriving future for students. We utilize these core practices as an organization, and these really help guide us and our guideposts in thinking about and supporting and working with schools. We also offer some ways to connect and share out. So Green Notes is one of the go-to sources on that front to help people know about some opportunities that are out there, best practices, some case studies, and a variety of those types of things. And currently we're working with schools across the country. There's about 250 schools total that we're working with, but we have 17 different states where we have different partners that we're supporting and working with. So our PD Collaborative, which is what this webinar is predominantly about, is things that are being offered in the summer from our PD collaborators. This group of folks make up that PD Collaborative group, and they really are, like I said, top-notch organizations from across the country. I recommend that you check them out, all of them, and they're offering a variety of things. Some things going on even this weekend. Some of these things coming up later in early June, some of them throughout the summer, some of them going into August. So they all have, I think, really phenomenal things they offer, perhaps just a little bit different, each one of them, but some of them have some phenomenal resources. And we're going to hear from both Jamie and Vanessa on that front of some of those things that they're offering, and along with from Center for Green Schools and Carolyn, of what they're offering through Center for Green Schools. So here is our hope, is to lead you into an initial breakout room to think about this. And that is, what types of professional learning are you hoping to engage in this summer? And just coming back to that slide, think about that or consider that question just for a second. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get you into the breakout rooms or not. I'm going to attempt to do that, but I don't necessarily see that right now on my screen, being able to do it. So I'm just going to ask that you look to do that via the chat window. How would you answer this question for us? What types of professional learning are you hoping to engage in this summer? And here's actually maybe the easier way to do it. Both in the chat window and then down below, there is a link to meetingsift.com. And if you could go out on your browser and go to meetingsift.com and type in this code, KBMN, and I'm going to put that in the chat window so that you will see that. Then we're going to see some answers that you might be able to share via the chat window or via the MeetingSift. So first you're going to meetingsift.com. Yep. Let me put that in the chat window as well. There you go. So meetingsift.com is in the chat window. There, and John, thank you for putting that in there. Join sift.ly. That's the easiest place to get it. And then the code KBMN. So take a second, go there. You'll see this question on there. And if you would, take a minute and answer that question. What types of professional learning are you hoping to engage in this summer? I'm going to stop sharing. And John, if you will show your screen, then we'll see what emerges from what people are saying there. Once again, go ahead and type in there, sift.ly is where you're going, code KBMN, and we'll see what emerges.
And David, this is Carolyn, just to confirm that that code is working and I am in. So
Cool.
People are probably just typing their responses.
Yes, perfect. Awesome, and you can put in more than one thing. We can see a number of those things that keep coming up and see what emerges for us. I see a lot of focus on sustainability, climate. Science. Great, just about 30 more seconds, we'll see what else emerges. Thank you for participating in that. Great, we're seeing all kinds of things, a lot of place-based, perhaps outdoor learning, STEAM, STEM education, science, project-based, place-based, climate-related. Great. Looks like folks are in the right place. You're at the right webinar to get a lot of background and ideas of how you can grow yourself through the lens of what's going to be offered this coming year. Thanks for participating in that piece. We'll have another chance. We have another question that we're going to throw out to you here in just a little bit, but that's a good introduction and start for us. And John, throw it back to me and I will jump back onto my slides. Thank you for throwing out those things. So I think that what we just saw is that we are all looking for a variety of different things, and but they all are connected to sustainability, to climate, to good curriculum development. And so the four of us are now going to just go into some of the things that we're offering in the summer. Just a brief background on GSNN's philosophy about professional learning. Our focus is around trying to model active pedagogy, depth over breadth, and honor the perspectives and knowledge that people bring initially, because we really value that, but really honor the fact that people are bringing a lot to the table. We actually offer both independent, so things people are doing on their own, and collaborative professional learning. And an initial part that people could go to is the online journal that we produce called the Green Schools Catalyst Quarterly. And I highly recommend, if you haven't taken time and energy to look at this journal, that it's something very well worth your time. There's a lot of great resources. This particular slide I think on your left side, you'll see that there's a production that was focused on resilience. And especially in this time and day and age, that particular topic is very appropriate, but there's a lot of great resources and articles and case studies that you'll find within the quarterly. So those are just things you can do on your own to become a deeper learner on this topic. That link to get to the quarterly is there at the bottom. You also could easily just Google it and find it as well. That's a free resource. This is another one that we've recently put on, which is more of a curated list of what we have found to be some of the best virtual resources that are out there on the web connected to sustainability education. So this is a nice place to go and get some free resources that if you're looking for that as an educator. This is an example of a webinar that we produced yesterday. We did one on career technical education and green pathways. So that's part of what our continuing ed looks like, is trying to do some offerings in that regard. On the collaborative side, we have some professional learning opportunities that are designed for different grade levels. So middle school, for example, we have a watershed focused workshop that's going to be going on in June. That is half days for 3 different days. It's free for anybody in our network and $50 for people outside of our network. So just a small cost, but it's going to be really valuable and powerful experience. That happens in June. And then one on pollinators for K-5 educators will happen the week after. So look for more information on our website about that, but that could be a really interesting thing for people to bring back to their classroom. We also are putting together some coach training for people that are interested in being mentors or regional support people, and especially for people within our network that are interested in that. So that's another piece that we're doing on the collaborative side, along with bringing people to schools to actually see this work in action. This is a big piece of what we feel is important, is for educators to learn from other educators. So this fall, we have 3 different experiences where schools or districts are being showcased for the really, really good work that they're doing. And Centerville Elementary is in Fairfax County, Virginia. Prairie Crossings in the Midwest in Illinois, just north of Chicago. And Oak Park's in California. So we have them spread across the country. So hopefully you'd be able to find a school, one of these opportunities to go and learn from. It's usually about a day-and-a-half experience. And you know, any one of these would be phenomenal to go check out. They are accelerators. They are doing some amazing work and have been doing amazing work for years, actually. And it'd be great to go see them in action. So Encinitas Union is located in San Diego. Environmental Charter Schools is located in Los Angeles. And Virginia City Public Schools obviously is located in Virginia Beach. The last thing I'd talk about is our Executive Leadership Summit. We do that with school partners. It's a day-and-a-half experience where people are going in depth with the leadership team to really look at their current strategic plan and think about how sustainability can become more woven into what they do. So this has been created in partnership with Dr. Leith Sharp in Harvard, and we have put this on with a number of schools and districts across the country. Some of these student pictures on the right are from Carson City, Nevada, and include some of the Envirolution's materials. But they were one of our partners that did this Executive Leadership Summit for their district last February, actually, a little over a year ago. So we love to do these leadership summits. We're getting ready to do a couple more this summer, and we're looking forward to that. We do them both in person and now virtually as well. They typically lead to an action plan that a whole school, so we're doing a lot of whole school type of work from GSNN, and so that's what it typically leads to is as a strategic action plan. This is just an example of the first page from a school in Charlotte, North Carolina, that we work with, Bruns Avenue Elementary, and their action plan for this year, at least the beginning part of that. So that concludes some of the key things from GSNN and the work that we're doing. On the PD side, like I said, it's both independent and collaborative. We're going to hear from a couple of partners now from the Cloud Institute and Jamie Cloud, and then we will have another little Wordle opportunity, a chance for you to answer another question for us and see what emerges. And then we'll get to hear from both Vanessa Robertson at Envirolution, along with Carolyn Yee at the Center for Green Schools. So with that, take it away, Jamie.
Hey. So hi, everybody. It's great to know you're there. I can't really see you, but it's great that all of you are here. I'm going to jump right in so that we can hit the ground running here. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to describe our approach and then talk about the actual programs and offerings that we have. So I think everybody is pretty clear these days. If you're on this call, you probably know what sustainability education is, but just in case, we think of it as the capability to thrive over time. And we love Einstein's quote, "The significant problems we face can't be solved with the same thinking we use to create them." So it is that different way of thinking that we are trying to help kids to do. Particularly that different way of thinking that we want to bake into curriculum and instruction. We see nested systems. This is the Cloud Institute's framework. So we put the learner at the center of everything. Now the learner can be our students, but the learner is also all of us. And that learner is nested inside a community of learners, a classroom of young people and adults learning together, nested inside a whole school of learners, nested inside a place, a physical plant, nested inside communities that learn. So schools and communities learning and working together is the unit of study that we think is the most powerful for this work. And this is just one way of describing what that looks like. Everyone is encouraged to keep thinking, innovating, collaborating, talking candidly, improving their capabilities, and self-correcting and making personal commitments to a shared future. It is possible. More and more schools and their communities are moving in this direction. It's not the norm, but that's not getting us where we need to go. So sometimes you have to make a mid-course correction. I want to make sure that everybody's aware that there is a new set of benchmarks. It's a few years old now, but it's the newest we have. That is a consensus document of 42 authors that describes, it's the most comprehensive document we have that describes what the essential elements of education for sustainability are. We don't actually go into depth on the physical plant side. You can see that that layer is much thinner because there are tons of documents and standards and indicators for the physical plant aspects, and Center for Green Schools, I'm sure, is going to talk a bit about that. So we've taken into account more the teaching and learning side, the instructional side, and the organizational development side, as well as the relationship out to the community. So this is a wonderful document, and you can download it from the Cloud Institute's website or from the Journal for Sustainability Education's website or for any of the authors. And you can also click on that document here. When you get the PowerPoint, it's a live link. This was the Cloud Institute's contribution to education, to the benchmarks document. We've been working on this set of enduring understandings and performance indicators and standards for many, many years. And because our approach is to take existing curriculum and what we call sustainabilize it. Look for opportunities for these standards and indicators and big ideas and enduring understandings to enhance what already exists. So we need all the disciplines. We need the disciplines doing what they do, but by themselves, they don't educate for sustainability. So if we bake in the perspective of education for sustainability, that works better. So very quickly, I've realized in doing this work that we don't have a shared understanding of what we mean by curriculum. So when I use the term, this is what I'm talking about. There's the formal curriculum that's on everybody's website. And then there's the operating curriculum, and that's all the stuff we use, the unit plans and the lessons and the handouts and all of that. Then the taught curriculum, the assessed curriculum, and then of course, there's the learned curriculum, which is what all the kids are walking out with. And sometimes that's the things we didn't even intend. So that's one way of looking at curriculum. And if you look at it this way, what we're trying to do is close the gap between the formal and the learned curriculum. And so we're operating sort of in all of those levels in the work that we do. You may recognize this if you've read any of Robert Fritz's work. This is about structural tension, and it's a perfect model to use in curriculum design, I think. And so I'm going to use a backwards design methodology to describe what we mean. In understanding by design, there's a kind of 3-stage template when we're building curriculum unit plans. And this is all stage 1, and everybody puts something slightly different in their stage 1, but these are, we can call them the outcomes. And then we have stage 2, which is the assessments and performance criteria. And that's where we spend most of our time, in baking in this different way of thinking right into the core curriculum. It's where the continuity is, and it's how we can count on each other so that we know that our kids are being educated for sustainability. If it's documented and mapped and built and shared and we can see it, that's how a school and a district can really begin to do this in a comprehensive and robust way. It's the what and the why of what we're doing, and of course it's the evidence of what we're doing. So we spend most of our time working with schools and districts, taking existing curriculum. Sometimes we build new curriculum, but we mostly taking existing curriculum, documenting it, mapping it, and sustainabilizing it at the same time. And of course, there's a structural tension between our aspirations for kids and the current reality, which is their prior knowledge as they're walking into the room. And so that does create a structural tension. And that's why we need teaching and learning. So that's where the instruction comes in. The how we're doing it, it's where all the teacher magic is and the autonomy is, and it's the how we deliver the construction, the curriculum. So we spend a lot of time building all of this and making sure it's documented, mapped, and sustainabilized so that we can have vertical articulations and lateral connections and really do this in a comprehensive way. It's not going to work to do it lesson by lesson if we want education to actually contribute to a sustainable future. And of course, in line with the structural tension comes emotional tension, which then breeds creative tension. And so this is where we spend most of our time reading the feedback, looking at student work, and making it better and better so that the curriculum over time settles in a bit, unless there's some big disruptions. And then the instruction is always much more dynamic, of course, because the kids are much more dynamic. We always, when we start working with a school or a district, we start with as many members of the stakeholder community as we can, just to get a shared understanding and vocabulary, to give everybody a chance to develop a personal rationale for why they should educate for sustainability, and then to get everybody inspired and hopeful about contributing to a sustainable future through education. We want everybody to understand what the unique contribution is that education plays in making the shift towards sustainability. And then we ask for volunteers for who's ready to sustainabilize something. So we work with the early adopters, and we use this as one of our theories of change. We work with the early adopters who are ready to go, who don't need any convincing. And their job is to create exemplars that they can implement and get student work as evidence of, so that they can share those experiences with the rest of the faculty and cross the chasm of innovation to make the feedback visible, desirable, and doable for the next group. And then the early majority usually starts to get involved and joins a new cohort. And then eventually the late majority is the next cohorts. And then by that time, you don't need cohorts anymore. And we don't worry about the laggards, because laggards are, we like to say, a problem is a solution in the wrong place. So they'll figure out what they're gonna do. We also use the theory U by Otto Scharmer to describe what is the experience of those early adopters and anybody who's involved in this work. Of course, it starts with tapping prior knowledge, like all learning does. Then they learn something new, they see something in the EFS framework, and they learn something in the professional learning. They reappraise or reframe, see things in a different way. They gain new insight. They immediately sustainabilize something and try it out, apply what they've learned, and so that they practice using this new way of thinking. They read the feedback back, they revise, and they continuously improve. So these are all the things that we do with schools and districts. This summer, we're running a summer design studio. We're still going to run it. It's 5 days in August. It's August 3rd to the 7th. And we have been doing it at the Omega Institute up in Rhinebeck, New York. But we're going to do it online. And it's basically structured work time, coaching on demand, and optional mini sessions on assessments for learning and backwards design and analyzing student work for evidence of education for sustainability, because that's where the action is. We want to see these different ways of thinking consistently over time and vertically, from pre-K to 12, and then wherever people are teaching and learning. So these are all the different kinds of opportunities. I like to start with that stakeholder 1 or 2 day introduction, and then begin applying as soon as possible. And we also do a lot of leadership development to turn schools from factory models to learning organizations, which is a lot of fun. And then you can live link these too. These are some books that I recommend. I have a couple of a chapter in this one and a chapter in the next one. And the other two are just really good, and everybody should read them. This is Peter Sengi's book. I have a chapter in here that describes a lot of what we do. This is a relatively new book by Lisa Kensler and Cynthia Uline, and that's for school administrators. And then finally, this is a wonderful book by Heidi Jacobs and Marie Alcock, and really gives people out-of-the-box ideas for how we can organize schools around how students learn for the future we want. And that's it for me for now. Oh, I do want to mention the EFS Collective, which is it's a place where we're gathering exemplars of education for sustainability. So if you have some exemplars you think are stupendous, look at the benchmarks, tell us how those exemplars are addressing any aspect of the benchmarks, and we will share them with the rest of the world. And I will stop sharing with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie.
My pleasure.
Lots of awesome and really wonderful things to think about. I'm going to just pull up those slides. I did mention this in the, someone asked about the last book that she highlighted. Here it is on the screen. But I did put in the chat window the link to all of these slides. So it has everybody's slides in there that everybody can get to. They should be able to see what Jamie just presented, what I presented, and what you're going to see coming up as well.
Yeah, and this is a live link too, so you can just click on it and it'll take you to the description.
Great. We're going to take another quick pulse for folks that are on the call with us today on the webinar, and that is to answer another question for us. And that is what you're seeing on the screen. What are the most important things to teach students? Once again, we want you to go to the CIFLI website, and we're going to show the Wordle that'll be emerging from that. You see the prompt there on the screen, and at the top, the sift.ly. Once again, same code, KBMN. What are the most important things to teach students? So you heard some things from Jamie, who's just a master at this type of work, along with what's happening at the Green Schools. Based on what you know and what you are thinking about and work that you've been doing with your students, how would you answer this question? What are the most important things to teach students? Once again, you can feel free to put a couple different answers. It doesn't have to be just one thing. I'm sure there's a number of these things that rise to the top for you. Carolyn and Vanessa, since you guys are coming up, I'm going to ask you all maybe just to share what are you seeing? What are you seeing emerge here?
I was noticing problem solving was coming up a lot initially. Communication, collaboration. I feel like there are a lot of acronyms here for like hands-on learning as well.
Yeah.
David, are you asking in particular related to education for sustainability or in general?
Well, it's kind of the big picture of in general, and maybe see if there's connections to EFS as well within that. But so I think the way it was framed, I think it's just kind of a broad.
General, okay.
And Robin notes in the chat that she believes teaching children to know, love, and care about each other and the earth, which I think is lovely.
Yeah, that is.
Yes, I was going to call out the empathy word that's in the word cloud. Very important.
Yeah, I like that, emotional connections.
A lot of teamwork going on here.
Yeah, yeah. Resilience is a big one that comes out for folks. Great. You can keep putting some stuff in here if you'd like. When we get finished with our webinar, we'll take the summary word cloud and put that onto a slide so that it's in the final slide deck as well. If you ever want to go back and look at what did people come up with and how they responded to that. Thank you for participating, and feel free to keep answering a few of those questions. I'm going to just come back and now pass the baton to Vanessa. And Vanessa at Envirolution will give us a little introduction of who she is and the work that she does. She's one of our PD collaborative partners along with Jamie and the Cloud Institute. And she's doing some amazing things. And we're honored and privileged to have her on this call as well. So Vanessa, it's all yours. Help them to know about Envirolution. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Yeah, so as David said, my name is Vanessa Robertson. I'm the co-executive director of Envirolution. I just want to, real quick, make sure my stuff is up and ready before I get too distracted. Wonderful. So a short, brief introduction. Born and raised Reno. My parents both worked in the public school system, so I grew up, knowing the passion and dedication that is required to be an educator, and got my master's in environmental policy. Thought I wanted to change the environmental world from the top down. Worked in a lot of nonprofits doing the exact opposite while getting my degree, and realized I wanted to do kind of the exact opposite and work kind of more on the grassroots level of education and in schools, and have the pleasure and privilege to be running Envirolution that has gone through quite a bit of growth over the last 5 years, particularly in the last year. So really honored to have such a great team behind us and to work with all the educators. So I just want to definitely thank David and Jamie for your contribution to this movement, and a huge shout out to everyone that's on this. I know we're all inundated with options of webinars and education. Your mind might be exploding, but really expanding this in sustainability movement really starts with you all taking the time to explore what's out there and understanding the importance of this movement. So thank you all for that. Before I get into talking about Project Recharge and our professional development that we have coming up, and our program in general, I do, as David and Jamie did as well, think it's really important to hear a little bit about Envirolution and kind of our mission and vision and what drives all of our programs. So we are based in Reno, Nevada. We are primarily dedicated to developing and scaling dynamic K-12 youth leadership, education, and community outreach programs, all focused around sustainability, energy efficiency, and STEAM career development. So our mission there, you see it right there, is inspire and empower the next generation of leaders and workers who will drive the growth of a sustainable economy. And for that really begins this, our 3 spheres philosophy, also known as the triple bottom line of people, planet, profit, where we see a world that we can have that the social, the environmental, and the economic spheres can all be prosperous and in balance, that our teachers, our students, our businesses that we work with all know and understand that they can in fact have a good paying job that isn't at, it's not compromising the well-being of the community, and in fact maybe reversing some of the damaging effects that we've had on the environment. But in order to have that, really is that sustainable workforce. So for us, seeing that our energy sources are coming from clean, renewable sources, when we have a healthy, sustainable, green workforce, that's healthy communities and healthy environments. Unfortunately, there is a huge gap in the STEM workforce, an even larger gap when it comes to minority and females pursuing these careers in these STEAM fields. And it's due to a lack of valuable programs available to schools, lack of funding for that, resources for teachers. So it really is important that we get these programs out to students, because they sometimes don't feel like they're smart enough to even go into these careers. And that's a huge barrier that it's our responsibility to kind of break down. Our vision for our future generations really is all about changing up the educational system in terms of providing these valuable STEM programs that allow students to gain valuable career and life skills no matter what they end up doing. That communication, that collaboration, critical thinking, empathy, all of that are just super valuable no matter what you do in life. And studies have shown that, by providing access to engaging hands-on, practical, project-based programs to students, they're more likely to pursue these careers in college and beyond. And it's really important to break down these barriers and re-inspire teachers to prepare for this rapidly developing sustainable economy that we have. For us also is our teachers. If programs don't work for teachers, it's not going to get to the students. So we are committed to, providing curriculum that's flexible, supplemental, it fits the needs of the students. That also allows teachers just more tools in your toolbox. Every year is different. Every year you have different students, so being able to kind of pull from different resources from a variety of organizations is really important to us in our programs. Also being able to connect that classroom learning to the community. So access to STEM professionals in your community, be able to have them come into your classroom and talk to their students about these jobs, breaking down that barrier of what does an engineer look like? What do, mathematicians do on a daily basis? So breaking down those barriers for students is really important, and getting them out into the community and applying those classroom concepts to real world application. And then also it's really important for us to provide mechanisms for continued professional development and learning for our teachers to be able to help have them the opportunity to share their knowledge and their experience with other educators across the country. And we've built that into our master teacher program through Project Recharge. I'm not going to go into these really quickly. I welcome, I encourage you to go on our on these links on our website and check out all of our programs that we have that allow us to kind of accomplish this mission and vision, really taking project-based learning and classroom concepts and applying them to the real world for these job skills.
Being a teacher is hard work. They are very busy, and it's not easy to keep students engaged and excited about science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, especially when it comes to thinking about their future career. Students are at school, trying to listen and understand, but can get distracted, bored, or confused. Project Recharge is here to help. Project Recharge's interactive STEAM energy program helps teachers by providing them with over 45 hours of professional development, all of the classroom materials and STEAM curriculum, as well as a stipend to help compensate them for going the extra mile. Project Recharge lessons educate and engage students on energy generation, consumption, and efficiency, connecting STEAM concepts in a hands-on and exciting way. Students get up and do interactive activities that can be applied to real-world problems. Students work through activities as a team to do things like create electrical circuits, generate electricity with the help of the sun, wind, steam, and batteries, and then discover ways to save energy, first at home and eventually for their school and their community. Students become energy detectives with Project Recharge. Working together, students come up with energy-saving ideas and then present them to professionals and school district administrators. Top groups are showcased at a year-end event where prizes are awarded and everyone can enjoy a fun evening with tasty food while displaying their proposals. Selected projects will get funded and implemented. Previous winning proposals have already cut energy use, saved money, and reduced the amount of CO2 released in the atmosphere. Now that's a real impact. So who is behind Project Recharge? Envirolution is a nonprofit organization that works to inspire and empower the next generation of leaders and workers who will drive the growth of a sustainable economy. Their hands-on approach gets students excited about potential careers in the STEAM fields while having positive impacts on the environment and community. For more information on the program and the benefits provided to teachers, visit www.envirolution.org.
Great. So I always like showing that video because it just sums up the whole program in a nice kind of fun visual way. Real quick, we are excited. Over the last 5 years, we've been able to bring this program through a big National Science Foundation grant and a couple other large state grants to over 40 schools within 9 school districts in Northern Nevada and California. And I'd like to point out at this time that although we are still just in Northern Nevada, going to be expanding into Southern Nevada, we do have national expansion plans in the horizon. So we're excited to get this on everyone's radar and talk about some opportunities of how we can bring this program to your school and your students. Within those schools, variety of districts from public, private, large, small districts, tribal schools. Over 117 teachers have gone through the program from 5th grade all the way up to 12th grade teachers in science, math, STEM, physical science, environmental science, and then the career and technical education department as well. So it's pretty versatile in who can use it. Again, it is a supplemental flexible STEM curriculum. We've reached over 23 students representing a diverse kind of backgrounds and learning needs. All those teachers have received over 6,000 hours of valuable professional development and over 200,000 in classroom resources, and really proud to share, all of that was provided to these schools and these teachers at zero cost to the teachers or the districts. Right now we're committed to kind of 100% grant funding and crowdsourcing and foundations, because schools are underfunded as it is, and teachers already pay way too much money out of their own pocket. So right now we're continuing with this model for as long as we can. I'd like to just point out, I know the video did that, showed the little success of the proposals, but super excited about this real world impact. Students can walk away knowing that they put together a proposal and it's saving their school money. What a unique thing to put on their college application. Almost $500,000 in energy costs that can now go to other areas of the school, more teachers, more other resources, and then having those environmental impacts as well, very tangible, and they can be something really proud of it. Also seeing impact in student increase content knowledge, increase in interest, and then seeing that final step in going on and pursuing careers in these fields after going through this program, which is what the bigger mission and vision is for Envirolution. So really excited to be seeing these results. Alrighty, so now to the bulk of this. So Project Recharge, the foundation of the program and the professional development is the interactive supplemental STEAM curriculum. It covers 16 plus lessons, hands-on, project-based, standard aligned. These have been developed and tested and retested and redeveloped and refined for over 10 years, and we are committed to annual updates to the curriculum. Which is something we're pretty proud of and pretty unique to the curriculum world in some situations. Our training is 45 hours of hands-on training that is covered under a model of 3-day intensive, then followed up by a full day Saturday training usually, and then 3 to 5 2-hour follow-ups throughout the year. And really this model has proven to be able to provide an opportunity to really develop relationships with these teachers over a year, so they feel comfortable to come back to us year after year, wanting more materials or updated lessons or special requests. We value, you become a Project Recharge for life, you're part of the family, and we want to be there for you. All of our trainings are taught by other Project Recharge master teachers. We feel it's really important to hear from actual educators in the fields that have years of experience teaching these lessons, that can provide you all those ins and outs and secret tips that worked and didn't work, which is pretty valuable. Our professional development also sprinkles in a variety of STEAM guest speakers, allowing educators to meet and be introduced to these local professionals in their community, being able to access them and have them come into their classroom and talk about a content that maybe they're maybe not as familiar with, or just switching it up. Your students like listening to someone else sometimes a little bit better than they like listening to you. During our trainings, it's also an opportunity for you to get some of that new and additional background knowledge of the content that we will be covering in a different way. all of our trainings, all of our participants either receive a stipend. Right now it's at $1,000 or the equivalent professional development hours for recertification, depending on your state and your district's requirements, which we know is kind of constantly changing. So our summer trainings coming up are July 13th through the 15th in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then July 27th through the 29th in Reno, Nevada. Prior to this pandemic, we were planning and anticipating recruiting teachers from all around and having them come to our trainings and be able to bring back all of these resources to their area. Some of that's kind of on hold right now, as you can imagine, but we are going to be piloting some virtual presentations, opportunities for educators to kind of log on and take a look and see what's going on to, you know, spark that interest or get kind of the buy-in from other teachers to be able to come to the training in future summers. So our 3-day summer intensive is the first 3 days covers our first 3 units of our curriculum. The first unit is covering sustainability and energy basics. So as I mentioned, teachers will go through all the lessons as the students do. So you work with the materials, you work through the handouts, you collaborate with your educators and go through everything. So it's really hands-on and engaging and allows you to kind of already start planning how it's going to look in your classroom. Unit 2 is all dedicated to thermal systems. So passive cooling, building envelope, how buildings store energy, and how can we reduce electricity use by utilizing passive techniques. And then focused on electrical systems. So how do buildings consume energy from lighting and appliances, exploring those phantom loads on all of our appliances in our house and in the schools, to analyzing energy bills, figuring out kind of that first step in being an energy detective and what it takes to identify areas for improvement. Which leads into our next follow-up 1-day session is dedicated to energy detectives and data collection strategies. So whether you're looking at your home, your school, or a local business, students can decide you know, what they're looking at and how to collect that data. And at the schools, we can look at real energy data. And then the 5th unit is focused primarily on the grants, the proposals, so modeled after real grants, and then they present all that those ideas and present them to professionals in a variety of ways. So every professional development teachers will walk away with the curriculum binder and access to our online portal so they can access everything anywhere, anytime for year after year. All the materials needed to teach the lessons, which is over $2,000 worth. Our STEM guest speaker list, and you know, really more importantly, access to a network of educators and professionals, the confidence and training to implement these lessons, and just the pride knowing that you all will be preparing your students for these future careers. And what makes this training model unique is that we provide you all with everything you need. On average, you might have 150 students each year, on average, maybe 15 years in a career. So in one summer training, we have the potential to reach over 56,000 students throughout the career of these educators. So it has a huge impact. I've got a few, I know I'm running low on time, or I've already passed it. We've signed up for our newsletter. You can, if you're already like, sign me up, I don't care, I wanna, you know, be a part of it, we've got that link right there, which will be available. Any specific questions, I'd encourage you to reach out to our program manager. And we do have a year-end event coming up here in a couple of weeks, virtual year-end event. We'd invite you to attend and see for yourself kind of the work that our teachers and students are doing right now. So I know I went over, I apologize. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Much appreciated. Lots of good material there. Lots of really awesome things that Envirolution is doing in this world. So yeah, check it out. You'll be able to see the links that Vanessa shared when you download the slideshow. And now we'll turn it over to Carolyn in the Center for Green Schools.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're great.
Okay, and can you see my screen?
Yep. Yep. It
All
looks
right,
good.
great. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn Yee. I am a project manager with the Center for Green Schools at the U.S. Green Building Council. And if you aren't familiar with the U.S. Green Building Council, our mission revolves around changing the built environment, the places where we all work and live, to ensure a more sustainable future. So at the Center for Green Schools, we believe that all students deserve to attend schools that enhance their health and prepare them for 21st century careers. So we approach this work in a number of ways through our educational resources, professional learning networks, and industry recognized tools. We support schools to educate students about sustainability and take action in their own communities. So if you want to learn more about the full scope of all of our programs and resources, I would encourage you to visit our website. The link is here at the bottom of the screen, along with a link to our Learning Lab Sustainability Education platform, where we've put together a list of sustainability lessons and activities, most of them free, that are well suited for distance learning and implementation at home, given the current pandemic. So I just wanted to be sure to flag that resource if you haven't seen it already. But today I'd like to focus specifically on how we support teachers and school staff, like all of you, to feel empowered in your school buildings and to understand the opportunities that you have to promote sustainability there. So because USGBC is an organization that primarily focuses on the built environment, our contribution to this professional development conversation is aligned very closely with that. So I wanted to mention that in addition to supporting the sustainability education needs of teachers, we also facilitate a network of about 300 school sustainability staff around the country. My colleague Phoebe Byerly, who manages that network, is actually on the call right now, and I recognized a few names from Portland and the Boston areas who are members in that network. So we, that stakeholder group in the Green Schools movement is really important to us. And these are all individuals whose jobs are specifically to promote sustainability across their schools or district in some manner. So this includes facilities directors, energy managers, curriculum coordinators, and more. So what you're seeing on the screen is, I wanted to share some of the recent feedback we've gotten from them about how school districts have been responding to COVID-19 and the impact that they're seeing both on their work specifically and the work of teachers in their districts. So these are results from a March survey that was done with this group. And you can see here that all respondents said they are currently continuing to work in a remote setting. And almost 3/4 of them indicated that their district expects teachers and staff to continue to complete professional development training while working from home. And regarding what expectations they've seen put on teachers, all respondents said that there were some expectations communicated to educators about remote learning, but there has been inconsistency a lot of times on what remote teaching and learning looks like. So almost half of all respondents said that their school district is, in addition to that, struggling to provide virtual instruction that equitably meets the needs of all students. And that's important to note because that's something that we try to weave into our approach and all of our work with schools and districts. So as this group thinks about preparing to return to school, they've noted that these are some of the opportunities and challenges that they see in front of them. So as educators or, you know, school staff or people who have an interest in working with schools to improve sustainability education and sustainability of the built environment, maybe you can also relate to some of these things that are noted here. Some of these responses you'll see address the need for effective cleaning before schools reopen, allowing students and teachers to feel safe, returning and being together in their classrooms, but of course, also doing so in a way that is non-toxic and sustainable, especially because there may be, you know, moving forward, more emphasis on more frequent cleaning. Another concern that you'll see raised in a few different ways here is about the loss of momentum for sustainability initiatives and behaviors that had been built up over time and with a lot of effort. So the fact that you're joining us today on this call probably means that you are someone who cares about school sustainability on both a professional and personal level. So I'm sharing this survey information to both acknowledge the current situation and uncertainty surrounding schools related to the ongoing pandemic and how it may affect sustainability. And also, as a building-focused organization, we know that our strength is in mobilizing the expertise and knowledge within the building industry to help schools and teachers reach their sustainability and education goals. So this is why in our work with educators, we emphasize the value of being knowledgeable of your space and connecting learning opportunities to your own school building wherever possible. So the resource that I'm going to share with you specifically today provides an opportunity for professional development right now that will equip you to hopefully feel confident and productive when returning to your classrooms, whenever that is possible. So the Green Classroom Professional Certificate course, which I'll moving forward refer to as the GCP, is an online self-guided course that teaches you how to encourage sustainable and healthy practices in classrooms. Many teachers and green building professionals volunteered their time to its development alongside us. We also worked really closely with the National Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, and the Alliance to Save Energy to ensure that the quality and the content here was appropriate and would be directly beneficial to teachers and school staff. So the GCP equips users with knowledge and skills to identify features that support or impede environmentally healthy and sustainable learning spaces, and also to recognize, adopt, and implement practices that promote health and well-being among school occupants. The course provides foundational knowledge of green building in the context of a school setting. So the goal is that once a participant completes this course, they will feel more aware of how to support healthy learning environments and how they can kind of help to foster an attitude among students to appreciate and model green practices at school. So it's really meant to help teachers and school staff create foundational awareness of green lifestyles and energy savings and environmental health in students. So the page linked on the screen here will provide some more information on the full list of learning objectives for this course. There's also a one-pager that you can use if you'd like to share this with others at your school, and also a full course guide that gets into kind of the outline of the content. So who can benefit from this education? We're talking about teacher professional development here, but this course really can benefit anyone who regularly steps foot in a school building or works at the school. So this can include teachers, but also administrators, any operational staff, school building designers, and school board members and parents as well. So we really see kind of a wide user group for this education. And the course itself is online, it's narrated, and it's self-paced. So it includes 12 modules covering key topics, which you can see listed here. It begins with an introduction to core green building concepts and the challenges of maintaining healthy learning spaces. And the modules that follow, I won't get into them all, but they provide information on a range of concepts of green building, like sustainable grounds, indoor environmental quality, water efficiency, energy efficiency, and more. So as an example, the lighting module would cover key points like reasons that lighting is important in a classroom setting, and then identify opportunities that teachers can take to do things like increase daylighting in the classroom while managing the quality of lighting and thermal comfort. So it's kind of bringing into balance all the different factors that a teacher could take into consideration when thinking about, how do I make my space more productive for learning and healthy for my students. And if you're familiar with the LEED Green Building Framework, you'll notice that the course closely tracks the LEED credit categories. LEED is USGBC's green building rating system and framework. So I thought it would be helpful to see how the content is laid out. So here's a look at one of the modules. So we have some animated scenarios throughout the course with interactive activities, which will not only explain, but show you examples of the concepts that are being taught. So in module 4, which covers sustainable grounds and transportation, you get this overview of issues impacting healthy school grounds, and then you can click around the diagram to explore the different elements on school grounds that affect sustainability, and the course will tell you more. There are also practice quizzes at the end of each module that test knowledge and reinforce content to help you prepare for the course quiz at the end. And also a 50-page GCP guide available as a PDF so that you can take notes if you'd like to kind of write some of this down as you go. And each module also includes examples of how you can apply this learning at your school by advocating for improvements and providing you with additional resources if you want to learn more about a particular area. So you'll see over to the left, next to the menu tab, there's a resources tab within the course that links out to more information. The course itself takes about 2 hours to complete. And if you don't want to complete it all in one go, you can enter and exit the program on your own schedule over the course of the year that you have access to it. And after completing the course, you would take a quiz, takes about an hour to complete, with multiple choice questions. And so the total time commitment for the online course is about 3 hours. And a little bit of information about the quiz. It's 30 multiple choice questions, and 24 correct or more is a passing score. You'll be immediately informed of your score, and all Green Classroom professionals receive a digital certificate that can be printed out and displayed in the classroom. So here's some information about the cost. There is a cost associated with the course. It's $45 for individual purchase. And we also offer a discounted bulk price of $25 per person if you're purchasing 5 or more at a time. So there's a link here to access that form to request a bulk purchase. I also wanted to note that K through 12 schools are all eligible for 1 free year of USGBC organizational membership. And with that comes 3 access points to the GCP. So that is also an option. Or if you and your organization happen to have access to education at USGBC already, it's included in the subscription. So lastly, it's of course difficult to plan for an in-person event at the moment, but because there's no replacement for collaborative in-person learning opportunities, I thought it was important to share that over the years, we've seen groups opt to turn the GCP into in-person workshops. These can be led by designated USGBC faculty. So we've seen this done around the world. On the left is a flyer that Jeannie Jabara, an energy education coordinator at Prince William County Schools, created for her in-person workshop in Virginia. She led the course for 96 teachers last year, and being together on their campus to take the course provided a lot of good context to the information being shared, and also allowed them to connect those concepts taught to their own spaces. And then on the right is a photo from our partners at Qatar GBC, who led the effort to translate the course into Arabic, and collaborated with Palestine GBC to hold a workshop for 40 participants last year. So this is just a note for anyone interested in in-person opportunities or workshops. And we have preparation guidance that we can share for that kind of activity as well. And I just wanted to share this quote from a GCP holder, which I think kind of emphasizes the importance of being familiar with your space and passing that knowledge on to students, especially now. So yeah, with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Jamie, all for sharing some of the work that you're doing and preparing and offering for folks. We did want to use just a few minutes here at the end to see if there might be any questions from our audience from today, and to see if you'd like to jump in or go deeper into what has been presented. Lots of really awesome things that are being offered for folks this summer and ongoing. And we're hopefully that you are inspired and excited about what some of those new learning opportunities look like. Are there any questions out there, or folks? Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question, and I will unmute you and allow you to jump in and say anything if you'd like to.
While they're thinking about questions and writing down their questions, I have an observation.
Yeah.
I was looking at the Wordles, and what I think I saw there, and I would love to spend some more time with them, is that there were a lot of core necessary things that kids need to learn, which I would say necessary, but not sufficient if we want to educate for sustainability. Empathy was the only thing I saw that is part of the education for sustainability kind of essential elements. Everything else is essential in good teaching and learning, communication, all those kinds of things. And I would encourage people to think about if that's necessary and not sufficient, what would be more sufficient in terms of what kids need to know and be able to do if we want to prepare them for a sustainable future. How is that different than what we used to think of as a good education? So I would encourage us to think about that. Problem finding, for example, before problem solving, and the different paradigm. So I didn't see a lot of evidence of the different paradigm yet, but again, I want to study that Wordle to see what's in there.
That's such a good point, Jamie. Thank you for highlighting that. And I think as all of us become more cognizant of really understanding and thinking about sustainability, looking at those benchmarks is a great place to start. It's a great place that you showed and was in your slideshow as well. Yeah. Good. I'm not seeing any formal questions. Feel free at any point in the future to reach out to Carolyn, to Jamie, to Vanessa, to myself. We're all very willing to jump in and go deeper with any of you that have been on the call with us for today.
And we're always working on our wait time, so you still have a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we can continue to hold out here to see if there's anything that emerges. Anybody raise their hand or wants to ask something via the chat as well.
I'll say one other thing while everybody's still thinking.
Okay.
The other thing that I was thinking about is that from our perspective, sustainability, the highest and best use of the term is not as a topic, but is as an aspiration. Sustainability, thrive over time. That's the goal. And if we're not explicitly educating for sustainability, we may be unintentionally educating for unsustainability. And that's no good. And so what I love about everybody's work, all of you and all the members of the PD Collaborative, is that everybody has a piece of the elephant. And I think schools need to know more and more what that elephant is, and then they can call us for the different parts they need.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jamie. I did see resilience pop up in one of the Wordles, and maybe a couple other things related to your comment. So I think that people are kind of thinking of that need to kind of build resilience and build the ability for students to kind of progress on their own path in this way.
Agreed. People always ask me, well, is that the same thing as educating for sustainability? Isn't resilience the best thing we can do? And I said, no, resilience is not an aspiration. Resilience is a very good idea because stuff happens and you need to be resilient. But that's not the goal. The goal is thriving over time and unleashing potential. That's the goal. And you need to be resilient in order to have enough time to get where you're going. But yeah, I agree.
Great.
Mm-hmm. I thought one of the survey that you shared, Carolyn, one of the comments was seeing that sustainability, that it wouldn't be a priority, that other things are gonna be more important. And again, that concept is that you don't have to sacrifice one for the other, like understanding, that budgets are going to be cut, but you can save a lot of money with sustainable practices. And so a little bit of that mind shift that you don't have to pick one or the other. So I think it's pinpointing those and educating teachers on it. We love, the takeaways of teachers coming back from our trainings and be like, I changed all my light bulbs, or I had no idea. Like, it starts with educating the teachers and it trickles down to the students. And
it's no cheaper to educate for unsustainability than to educate for sustainability. In fact, it's a lot more expensive, as your kids have demonstrated. We do have a question. Can you comment about what schools without ability to ensure technology at home for secondary school students should do? For example, lower income city school districts. I think this pandemic has really, we already knew there was a digital divide. This is not news. So it's kind of shocking that people are shocked by that. And we need to do something about it. I think policies need to change for that. Where the American Sustainable Business Council is putting in some recommendations for policy changes at post-COVID. So I'm working with a group of people on an set of educational recommendations, and that's one of them, that all kids need to have access to technology, at home or wherever they are. Do you guys have any recommendations for what do we do if they don't have the technology right now?
Well, getting the lesson plans and everything is one thing, but they're in their homes, they're stuck here. It's such a wonderful learning tool. We can learn so much from our homes and being able to explore it, and opportunity to do it with your parents and your siblings, and going around and discovering different ways that you're consuming energy or other resources, and being able to make that active change right there and now. So that's a huge learning opportunity. I know everyone's concerned about traditional standards and lesson plans and everything, but now's the time that we teach our kids about maintaining a home and gardening and cooking and all of those opportunities for learning right there. You don't need any technology to do that.
I would agree with go ahead,
How
Jamie.
would you get the materials to the kids? So if they can't find it online, obviously, then I guess you deliver it. You get some old school paper packets and you deliver the audit material. They could do a lot of what you were just describing, Vanessa, but do it in their homes, those audits.
Yep. And that's
so somebody would have to print it out for them to do it self-directed learning.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of did. Envirolution shifted once this all kind of closed everything down, is that we quickly shifted to putting out more home-based energy proposals and utilizing, and we've, opened up to like, we'll deliver little kilowatt energy monitoring devices to you, or here's packets on the lesson and whatnot. So just trying to be creative and customize, kind of quality over quantity. We know we're not going to reach the students the same, the number of them, but if we can, really impact, a handful of them right now, like it's better than nothing.
Yeah, agreed. And somebody asked earlier about gardening. So there's a lot of great gardening curriculum materials. Well, you guys have them at Center for Green Schools. Captain Planet Foundation has a lot of great stuff. The Koala Center in Hawaii has a lot of great gardening curriculum and vertical scopes and sequences. So there's good stuff that can be done with paper and pen to teach. But again, it'd be self-directed. Yeah, all of the above. Carolyn, or Dave?
Yeah, I've heard of some schools doing like packet pickups for the week along with free meal pickups and things like that. So it's not ideal, but I think we've seen schools do their best to try and reach as many of their students and stay connected with them as possible right now. I was also interviewing Joel Tolman, who's the director of impact and engagement at Common Ground in Connecticut, a high school there. And he made a good point about how some of their students are actually essential workers right now. So being kind of sensitive about what we ask of people, of students and of parents right now, and supporting them, staying connected with them as much as possible, even if it's not directly related to assignments or coursework that they're getting done, I think is really important. To kind of maintain that sense of connection and community in some way. And yeah, just I guess when we are able to be back in school, not forgetting what some of the gaps were and committing to addressing those in the future.
I think that's a good point. And thank you, Derek, for bringing that up. There's that big challenge, and Jamie, you hit on that as well, is that we knew that this was a gap and a challenge before the pandemic hit. This is exacerbated and recognized that there's more that needs to be done. And I love there's just the perspective, like you said, Jamie, about working to have thriving environments and opportunities for our young people. And some of that means shifting from Bloom's to more Maslow. What is it that we can give people right now that they need in order to just feel safe and feel like that they are comfortable and feeling like that they can move forward in a positive way. And something that's not overwhelming them with connectivity to, tons of academic work that we're piling on students. Some of it might just be, sending them or giving them good books that they could have at home to build their library that they could read, or helping them get plants that they could potentially put in place at their home, or just making sure that they have food on a consistent basis for some families. And that's enough. That we don't necessarily need to push ourselves to think like we can't do everything at once. So that's another, I think, core piece of our work together. But I think, thank you, Derek, for bringing that up. It's not an easy question to answer, and I think we're all thinking about that. So I appreciate you putting that out there. Well, we have come to a concluding time. Once again, feel free to reach out to any of the panelists. Our contact information is in the slideshow. Hopefully you all got the link. John put that in there a couple times. And please take a minute and go to that, and you'll have that for posterity, and go back to some of those slides. Thank you, Carolyn, for giving GSNN the opportunity to partner with you and share some of this work, and for Jamie and Vanessa to be on here, and for all the PD Collaborative folks that are a part of this. So Trevor's asking for a repost of the link. If you go to the very top of the chat window, you'll see it, and it's a couple different places, but I'll just put it in here again at the bottom for folks.
Yes, thank you, David and Carolyn. And I just want to give another huge shout out to all the educators that are on here right now and everything you're going through. Like you guys were already champions in my mind, but going through all this and stay with it. And we're all here for you. You're making a huge difference in students' lives right now. I know it's not fulfilling your traditional, normal, creative, physical interaction with students, but hang in there, and we will all get through this. But thank you all again.
Well said.
Well
Thanks,
said.
everyone.
Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. And
Bye, everybody.
we'll see you all soon. Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.